I'm Tim Williams, and I am the director of this short play, The Getaway.
So, what topics of The Getaway speak to you?
I think this is one of the things about the play. Even though it's only 20 minutes, it's a short play, it's very multi-layered. I think this is also one of the reasons that the committee who chose which play to send from Heidelberg was really impressed by this play. I think for me, particularly, the idea of memory and memory suppression and how is so important. And I think it's really interesting to think about everyone has experiences during their life which are more traumatic or less traumatic, but that we try and forget. And I think for most of us in our daily lives, we don't really ever think about complete suppression of memory. I'm not a psychologist, but I do think it's interesting to think about how, and the play sort of unpacks this really interestingly, how little bits of memory always come through, and we tell ourselves new stories about how we experience the past. And I really like how the play, in a sort of a conversation, in the second part of the play, the conversation directly between Charlie and Malone, taps into that and looks at how we can unpack, or how memory is unpacked bit by bit, which in the case of the play ends quite traumatically for Malone.
Could you tell us a little bit about your directorial choices?
Well, let's put it this way. We've travelled halfway around the world, or all the way around the world nearly, to stage this play. So a lot of my choices were also practical, because we couldn't have a large set to transport. So it's been quite minimalist. In general, that's also a directorial style that I like. But I've tried to really highlight, in the way that I've directed the play, at what points Charlie as a memory is disjunct from Malone, and it's the presentation of a memory itself as he has it, and when this memory kind of becomes more of an interaction with Malone. And I think that the way that the two actors act together, I'm really happy with, because it has very different phases throughout the play. And we don't need a big set for it. All we have on stage is a chair and the actors. And so it was easy to transport this way. I would have maybe gone a bit more pretentious if we'd have just been staging it in Heidelberg. But it's all about the relations between particularly those two characters. And at the same time, there are also two further characters, two female characters, which only appear in the script right at the end of the play. But I think that it's easy to integrate them earlier on, because it tells an additional story about how the way that we narrate our past, how we narrate our memories to the people we interact with, influences how they see us, obviously, but that this is also a sort of very multi-layered dynamic, and people who have done terrible things in their past can be perceived very differently today. And the two women, his wife and daughter of Malone, see the first act through tainted glasses. And so these were sort of simple directorial choices, but I think it manages to tell extra little parts of the story.
For you, what makes The Getaway a very special play?
The play, I think, not only does it have these various different layers and really important topics that it talks about, but it's also really beautifully written. The play actually is a little bit longer than what we're performing. We had to do some editing for the text to get it down to 20 minutes, which is the limit that we're allowed to present here in Dunedin. But so I edited some of the text together with the actors. But the original script itself is also really beautiful, and the author, Paul Liedvogel, has a real talent for words.
As you mentioned before, we travelled around the world to perform this play here. What are you looking forward the most here in New Zealand?
Well, even flying into Dunedin, we sort of passed some sort of snow-capped mountains, and I'm a very town person, I'm an urban person, but I'm really excited to spend some time in nature. I went running this morning and even just 10 minutes from the place we're staying, I was in the middle of a jungle-like wood, and I'm looking forward to spending a little bit of time after the festival here and maybe going on some hikes into the mountains.
Thank you very much.